As a wise man once wrote, it is all vanity. In the end, it means nothing at all. I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. That which is crooked cannot be made straight. That which is wanting cannot be numbered. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. What does man gain by all the toil at which he toils under the sun? A generation comes, a generation goes, and hastens to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north, and around goes the wind, and it circuits. The wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. The place where the streams flow, there they flow again. All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has been already in the ages before us. There is no remembrance of former things, nor will there be any remembrance of later things yet to be among those who will come after. I said in my heart, I've acquired great wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceived that this also is but a striving after the wind. For as much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. The truest of true words ever written. Do not confuse my melancholy mood here today with depression. It is not. I simply am very present in reality and in the futility of life itself. I have taken great risk in my life, never having traveled the road of security and safety. My life has had me not living in fear. It has left me void of friends and family, mostly because I live each moment cognizant of the meaningless and futility of it all. No one, or few I should say, cares for this conversation that I long for. No one wants to entertain the vanity of our efforts. We are victims of distraction from life itself. Most are dead before having died. Empty vessels of culturally indoctrinated dogma. And my words fell in themselves, my time wasted, even in having had these reflections. Today I relive my life for absolutely no benefit at all, for it is all vanity. Back in 1954, this was an entirely
different building. I'm in the back here, which is the emergency entrance. And I'm going to pull around front and explain to you where I am and what I'm here about rush hour traffic in Athens, Alabama. Tobacco-free campus. No smoking on this campus at all. I'll be back. This is this guy's back off. Okay, I didn't mean to do that. 1954. Athens County Hospital. This, my friends, is where it began for me. About 7 o'clock, thereabouts on Tuesday evening, I believe it was. I took my first breath away from outside my mother's body. That's where it started for me. Just right, candy cornered. There was another building here, I believe. Either that or they rebuilt it. My memory doesn't serve me well. But right across the street from Athens Limestone Hospital, where my life began, was a building here that was the second place that we had our little church. That's not the same building. I'm sure it's not. That was the last, no, it wasn't the last. They built another one after that. They actually did, this is entirely new building. We're going back in the late 60s, early 70s. This street is Rogers Street. And this house, right here, was where my grandmother Graham, my father's mother, lived. She was one that had a frontal lobotomy, and she used to sit on that porch in a rocking chair and sing. And I remember that side entrance is still there. The house has been remodeled. It was open land all the way back to the next street. And I remember my first memories are in that house. My sister was born in a couch, on a couch in that house. My dad buried the afterbirth in the backyard. And out that door, I remember my first snow, and my mother was excited. She had a Magnavox hi-fi, wasn't stereo, and she loved to listen to music. And she was excited and told me that Dad may be bringing home a new car. And he sure did. A white Studebaker Lark. He ended up owning 2 of those, and he loved those little cars. But there is where my first memories of life. 7 Rogers Street, that land. All the way down this street. If there anything with it, Hargrove Street. And if you look way at the end of this street, you see the remnants of a store. But I'm going to go this way, right here, down Hargrove. And this is not here. That man went all the way down to this area. It's been subdivided now. Go right over just to the end of this street. We're going to end up at Athens State College. Later in life, my grandmother's both had passed away. I moved into vet house at 407 Rogers Street. And this, I had a friend of mine, a part of that family over there on Houston Street that had 10 kids. Greg moved in with me, and he decided after drinking a few beers that he was going to streak. He ran through the backyard, stripped his clothes, and came and ran through the girls' dormitory here at Athens State. Never got caught. He did it. I remember that. The Millers lived. Ms. Miller outlived her husband, as a lot of women did in those days, and still today, I guess. But here's the rest of the story. So, in my teen years, at some point, and I'm going to pull around here so you can see, my dad bought this house, and that has. They've re-roofed that. That's changed. That had a fireplace. I had a fireplace in my bedroom. It wasn't a bad house. But the motivation for buying that house was the right here, which this is not a store anymore. This used to be a store. Miller's Grocery, little frame building, totally been redone. My dad bought it because Miller was getting old, and we ran Elkton Street Market during my high school years, right here. Had all the candy I wanted, and cut today. Part of my life. It's a town and road. And we'll drive around. Well, I won't do that. Up here on the right, there's a building that was called the Great Hope. Upstairs there is where we used to have our church meetings. And get in there now. So I was kind of hoping we could, but I don't know. Check that out in a minute. I just want to drive around the square real quick. But that building right there, the Gray Hope building, the first time I ever got on the pulpit, 6, 7 years old, upstairs. Walk up the steps. After you get up the steps, go straight back and be the first door on the left. That's where we had our church meetings. There's the town square. Interesting little stories about this. That church right there was never. But as a preteen, right here in Athens, on this far side of the square, right here where I'm going now. I forget who was running for governor, but they had shut down this street for a political rally. And Hank Williams Jr. was very young in those days. He had a little pull-behind travel trailer that he used as a his little dressing room. I got his autograph on a little scratched piece of paper, and he performed on stage for whoever was running at that time for Go ahead. For right here on the left, now Limestone Drugs. They used to be a bank, and I used to have the keys to that bank a long time ago. That's the Limestone County Courthouse and the town square. And right over here on Jefferson Street, U.G. White since 1917. Wow, I'm gonna have to go in there, right? That's been there. All right, but The next building over that you see right up here is called the Gray Hope Building. And the significance of this building for me, and I'm going to have to get right to the other side of the street to really tell this story properly so you can see the building. All right, so right there, that, my friends, upstairs was called the Gray Hope Building, and I'll show you as I get closer in a minute. But the significance of that, and that was where from the at least the 50s up through the late 60s, it's where my dad rented the space for his little church. And that, and I distinctly have that memory, I mean, we were there a lot in that little space upstairs. You walked up some steps, top of the steps, you walked back through another little doorway type thing, and our space was to the left. And it was an old building back then, believe it or not. So that is very, that's been around. So that is the first time I stood in front of a congregation. I don't know, I was 6, 7 years old. I've always said 7, but I can't remember exactly. I know I was a preteen. I know my mother dressed me in a little wool suit and had a Bible in my hand, and my job was to read, I think, an entire chapter in front of the congregation, and I was nervous. I was scared so bad. It took me years to admit this, but I stood there with my Bible in my hand in front of that little congregation, not many people at all, and proceeded to urinate all over my pants and ended up standing in a puddle of my own urine on the floor. But I kept reading. I completed my task, and nobody gave me a problem. Nobody picked on me or laughed at me, but I was so ashamed of myself. But that was the first time, and that's how scared I was. If you think that getting in front of a group of people, even a small group of people, some people I guess it doesn't bother, but yeah, there you go. What can I say? But that started it for me. Public speaking, sometime in the early 60s, in that building right there upstairs, which you're going to find out as I walk across here. I cannot get in. So we would walk in through this front door. Am I recording? And go up that same flight of stairs. They were not carpeted then. And you go straight back, and to the left was the area. And they've had this occupancy permit for temporary power since 2018. And I guess nobody has done anything to this at all. But that was the entrance where we'd go upstairs to my dad's little North Alabama. Just to give a perspective as to this building that was the Gray Hope Building, which was the first time I stood in front of a congregation. This is how far back that building went. And I didn't remember that, but it went on way on down there, right there. That looks like in that window there, some kind of ductwork. We didn't have central heat or anything like that. I think it was a kerosene heater in there. And it goes back pretty far. It goes back further than I remembered it going, that's for sure. And I don't remember ever checking out the back of it when I was a kid. We would just pull out front and go have our services up there. There's the back of it. right there. I don't know what's going to take place to this building. They got that, I guess it's a fire hazard. It's upgrades. They shut it down 2018, and looks like nobody's done anything to it since. The Great Hope Building. Athens Shopping Center. In this parking lot, when we lived over on Houston Street, 606 South Houston Street, this was a big K. Not a Kmart, but a big K. That, I don't recall being there at all. I think it was just a big K. And every once in a while, they would have a sidewalk sale. I guess on the weekends or whatever. And that sidewalk sale, they would not want to have to move all their stuff back to the store at the end of the day. So they hired me as a young fella to come and spend the night out here and watch their stuff. I had a big old Lincoln Continental 63 model, 61 model. It was a powder blue. It had belonged to my mother. It had suicide doors. Be worth a ton of money if I had it today. I would have it out here. And my friend Greg had it, he got it from his dad, an Imperial. If you're not familiar with an Imperial, go back and look at that one. It was as big as the car I had. In this very parking lot, when we would watch their stuff, in the rain and whatnot, when we were there all night out of boredom, we'd come out here and do donuts with our big old vehicles. And on occasion, one of the local little Athens police would come out here and do donuts out the parking lot with us. But there, within just a couple of blocks of the house I lived in on Houston Street, was one of the little gigs I had as a teenager. Somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact years, but it happened. Oh, also, in this same parking lot was where they would, those little traveling fairs, those carnivals, was set up out here. It was a big thing back then for a little town. They would have, my favorite part of it was not the little rides, but the dark rides, if you will, the spooky, the little haunted house things, which seems so ridiculous by today's standards. And then they would have they would always have somebody's remains. They would have a casket and what looked like a mummified skeletal remains of, one time they would claim it was Marilyn Monroe, another time it would be some gangster, and we would pay to look at this gaff is what it was, but we didn't know any better, and we'd pay and we'd believe it. And yeah, we would. I know by today's standards that's hard to believe, but that's what it was right here. Athens, just a block over here is Houston Street, and this is the house that I lived in most of my teen years right here. If you remember 606 Urban Street, well, this was 606 South Houston Street. And if you look very carefully, right there, they've got a skeleton in that chair. There used to be a little garage right there. That was the same back door. The siding has all changed, but those windows upstairs, same windows. Well, they've been updated. But the two rooms on this side of the house were my two rooms. I was allocated two rooms, one of which in it I had a pool table. And I remember the old 55, 56 Buick, I think it was, putting in an 8-track stereo system right here. We didn't have it paved, but that's where we parked as well. It was just on a little piece of gravel dirt right there. But that's 606 Houston Street, and that's where I spent part of my teen years, in that house right on this street right here. In this neighborhood, this is behind Houston Street, behind the house at 606. Come up here, this is where the blacks lived. It was very segregated in those days. And I'm trying to find, there was a school. There was a school that was an all-black school. It may be torn down now. But when they integrated, which of course if you remember, our people were very much against that in Alabama, the majority anyway. They closed this school down. And like I said, I don't know if that's the school, the building's still standing. Going back a lot of years, folks. A lot of years, going back at least 50 years. But this may here. Yeah. All right. That school was in good repair 50 years ago. And they, in the 60s, when they integrated the schools, this was a fairly new school here. And they just shuttered it totally when they integrated our school system. It is really run down. A lot of history here. Nobody has done anything with it, that's for sure. It has just been left to ruin. But that was a public school. I'm sure that was it. Well, I'm not absolutely sure, let's be fair. I'm pretty sure that this was the school. I'm going to drive a little bit further. Little Athens newspaper, Athens News Courier, still there. And I actually, for a while, had the keys to that place. Right there, same place. Same place. Athens News Courier. The Donovans, of whom I went to school with a couple of sons, their dad had the radio station, and that is the new version of the radio station. I can't remember the call sign, but they were country for a long time. Then they went top 40. Roughly a quarter of a mile. Don't think half a mile from our no signage on it anymore, but you know, we met my dad's church at the Gray Oak building, and which is downtown, which is just a few blocks over, and we lived up over here on Houston Street, kind of up the hill. We were the all-white. It was very segregated. In fact, the Christian church today is still one of, if not the most segregated institutions left in our country. There's a little mixture, but not a lot. But this was a black, was what we used to call black church. African Americans, blacks used this church here. It don't look shoddy. It just, there's no signage. It don't look used. There's no indication of anything. But even up at our house, way up the hill there, Wednesday nights, Sundays, in that little brick block church right there, you could hear these people belting it out. And believe me, compared to us whites in our church, we didn't make any noise. These people were full of the Spirit. Right here, they were full of the Spirit. They would, in their singing, yes sir, they did not let go. It was a sound to behold, or to hear. You wasn't beholding it, but this is where they met. It was a long time they met here. I don't know what's going on with the building now. Somebody could be living in it for all I know. There's no signage on it. There's some kind of curtains that don't look totally. I'm coming up here now on what used to be the post office. Well, according to my sister, it was the stop office on this corner here. And my dad kept a post office box there for as long as I can remember. But it was, my sister would call it the stop office because we would always stop there. And that was her interpretation. It's now a, the building is the same, exactly. That was was the original post office when I was a kid. According to my sister, I believe this building on the corner right here that's now this riffraff, I do believe that was the old Greyhound bus depot. When my dad moved down from Missouri with his mother and 2 siblings, this is where he got his first job working at bus stop restaurant in there. I feel pretty certain that is it, because it looks like that's where they would pull the buses up under there, doesn't it? But he was 13 years old. I don't think they'll even let you work at 13 now. And he had to drop out of school. He had to take care of my grandmother, his mother, and his brother, Uncle Bill, and my aunt, Aunt Lorraine. And so they sold the farm up in Missouri. Backstory to that is my grandfather turned to be a drunk and a gambler, and they sold the farm. His mother divorced him. She had mental problems, and my grandfather couldn't deal, and he started, as they say back in those days, whoring around and gambling money. He kind of lost it. My dad took the settlement from the farm and brought his mother and siblings down to Athens because he was born in Killen, Alabama. And anyway, that's kind of how they. So this is called what do we call it? Brain dead. But 6th grade started in that building right there. My favorite all-time teacher was a teacher in that building right there in the 6th grade, and that would have been Miss Davis. The building has not changed at all. And I can only go one way here. But next to it, junior high, that's what I was trying to say. I'm brain dead today. Junior high school is that building, and the next building up here was the high school. This is where I graduated from. This is where my sister graduated from in 1966. I graduated from here in 1973. Right over here. And I'm gonna do something, I guess. Oh, I don't think that's not used in the school anymore. This says Academy in Athens Elementary. Some interesting things here. I was taught to avoid conflict and fights. But I was picked on. I was a scrawny little kid. We were very religious, didn't fit in well. On those steps right there, I guess between class or a break or something, I'm standing out there with 3 or 4 or 5 of my school peers. I wore glasses, always have, if I can remember. And so one of the kids was beating on my arm, and doing that pick on me shit. So I don't know what snapped, but I never fought back. But at that moment, I grabbed him around his neck and started choking him. His arms flailed, and he knocked my glasses off. The only reason I turned loose was to pick up my glasses. I almost remembered his name. Isn't that strange? Almost remembered it. But he was shocked. I didn't hurt him, but he was shocked that I retaliated, and that ended that. That one move I made pretty much ended my being picked on at that point. Happened right on those steps. Way back then, that had to be 71, 72, maybe the first year of high school. But there you go. I spent from the 6th grade, started again in that building right there. Right there. Oh, Do they use this as a school at all anymore? It says academy. This is the gymnasium. Let me get out of the way here. And the one big memory I've got, and this used to be Athens High School, it's now an elementary school, I was just told. In this gymnasium, way back then, sometime in the late 60s, early 70s, guess what? The Harlem Globetrotters played right there. And I kind of remember that a little bit. Right across the street from Athens High School. This, right up here on our left, has been here since 1957. And I bet you those were the same rides. I'm sure they've been cared for, updated, or whatever. That's been here since then. Well, Kitty Carnival. I don't know how often they use it. It's the same. I mean, I don't think the rides have been updated. They've been cared for, I guess, maintained. But I don't think they're anything but the same rides. So again, I'm trying. So there's the gymnasium. There's the gymnasium. There. 1937. I spent a lot of time at this library. This started out as the home of George S. Houston, governor, 1845, until his death here, 31st December 1879. He served the people of Alabama in public office for 36 years. Political career began in 1832. State legislature, 3 terms circuit solicitor, 9 terms U.S. House of Representatives, 2 terms as governor, twice elected to U.S. Senate. Conservative fiscal policies while in Congress, he's known as the watchdog of the Treasury. And there we go, the Houston Memorial Library. And this is where I used to walk and ride my bike up here, check out books, and devour. And my interest in books was not typical. I didn't read a lot of fiction. I read about Houdini, Blackstone, the great magicians, and that kind of stuff, and a lot of biographies and autobiographies.
This used to be the fiction room. We had probably approximately 15,000 books in here. When we literally took these walls down to studs whenever we redid this room into a parlor. And what we found was hand-hewn wood and homemade nails.
Wow.
And of course you found the horsehair in the plaster kind of situation. So what we did, our goal was to replicate this room to the best of our ability to what it would have been like in Houston's day. Now, of course, you're around 1845 in Houston's day, just
right.
to give you a reference point from there.
Right.
On top of the mantle being original to the house, on top of the mantle, of course, is Governor Houston's portrait. Now, the oil on canvas that we have, there is another one only in Montgomery. So there are 2 pictures of Governor Houston like that. We're extremely fortunate to have one of them. Montgomery has the other. Off to your right-hand side right there, of course, is the governor's desk and chair.
So this is original?
Yes, sir, as is the piano. Now, the governor loved music, loved to have parties, entertained quite a bit in these 2 front rooms. So this is an Empire-style piano, as is the desk. So that was of the governor's era. This was also the governor's couch. Of course, it has been reupholstered since. But if you sit down on it, it's not a comfy, cozy couch that you'd like to snuggle into on a cold day.
Well,
it's a very proper couch.
Yeah, they would sit proper.
Yes,
they had
exactly.
good posture.
Exactly.
And it wasn't for relaxing because they didn't have TVs. And
Exactly. So he did quite a bit of entertaining and he loved music. Now, as you might have noticed, walking into the library, the 2 front doors, the red transoms above each door is still original to the home.
I'll be darned.
So, with God's blessing, they have made it through sometimes.
Well, I started to say, it's not like Athens never experienced tornadoes and.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly, yes, and some civil unrest and all of that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So we still use the Dewey Decimal System. We still use the card catalog.
Is this original to the library here?
It is original. to
So
the
that would have
library.
been here when I checked out books.
Yes, sir, it would have been. Yes, of course, it's been updated. We handwrite the cards because whenever we ran out of ribbon for our typewriter about 6 years ago, we could not find replacement.
So
now
now
we
you,
handwrite cards. We hand check in and out all of the books here in the library. We do have a computer database of the books in the library, also the furniture pieces, the donations, and things like that. So we do use a computer, but not in everyday parts of the library.
so you're trying to keep it original as possible.
Oh no, we will keep it as
Okay,
original as
okay.
possible.
Is
We
this
have no
on-
plans to update.
Is this on the National Registry?
It is in
Okay.
19, let me make sure I have that straight for you, 1986, this home was put on the National Registry.
Took that long, okay.
Yes, yes, and it has been quick deeded to the city.
Okay.
So the city now owns the Houston Memorial Library and Museum building.
So who owned it prior to that happening?
It seemed to have been, when the descendants of Houston moved away and kind of lost interest, the city kind of tried to use it here and there, and finally it was bequeathed to the city. But that is why it became a library and a museum, because the descendants of Houston needed to make sure that the house would be a social gathering place and a library.
I got you.
That's the only way that they gave the house over to the
That
city.
stipulation.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
so quick question, if I
Yes.
don't mind me interrupting you along the way.
I'm
Was Houston a native of Athens, or where did he originate from?
not sure I know the answer to that question of where he originated from. I would imagine that he had good ties to Houston. Of course, he married Mary Beatty, Beatty Street.
Right.
So he married Mary Beatty.
So that was his ties to Athens.
That was his first wife.
Yeah.
Yes. And he had, when he first moved in, the street out front that's named Houston was called West Street.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. And Houston, in his time here, had 10 children and 2 separate wives. So he had 36 years in public service. He was a state legislator, a circuit solicitor, 9 terms in Congress, elected twice to the Senate. Of course, he was the 24th governor of Alabama, and he was known as the watchdog of the Treasury. He was influential with President Pierce and Polk, and his second wife, Ellen, lived here until 1909.
Wow.
Yes, yes. And in 1879, Governor Houston did pass in this house to the right of the fireplace in his parlor, which was his favorite room.
So is it haunted?
Yeah, we hear that every once in a while. We have ghost tours that come through
Oh,
here.
wow.
And, every once in a while I have to say, now, George, I'm working. You need to be quiet. So
He still likes to party.
he does. I still think he would have a preference for music and things like that. of
Does the
course.
piano ever play itself?
The piano has never
No?
played itself that I
Okay.
have been here, and I'm glad.
Yeah, would really.
Yes.
You would leave and lock the door.
I
and go.
probably would leave. I probably wouldn't worry about locking the door, but I would be leaving for sure.
So
Yeah.
this is an original fireplace.
I don't think that that's original
No?
to the
Okay.
home, but I think that that was added very, very early on because, as you can tell, it's a coal-burning fireplace.
Right.
Yes.
Oh, we used to burn a lot of coal.
Yes, yes, sir. So it's of that era kind of situation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, I keep interrupting you. I'm
No,
sorry.
that's okay. I'm here to answer questions.
So
here to
this
help
where
you.
I'm standing was a children's book section.
Yes.
Section. Let me get the
Yes,
word
sir.
out.
Yeah.
And so where would I have gone to get my Blackstone Houdini books?
Yes, I will show you. We'll go ahead and go through the mystery room. The board had allocated funds to match the transom right above your head. It's
Okay.
not original to the house, but it had been boarded over with plywood.
Ah.
So we decided to go ahead and make the investment when we were trying to do the 2 front rooms as the parlor.
Right. Okay, so you got that. What was the purpose of the red? Is it just to
Well,
keep brightness out?
there's a whole debate on that.
Ah.
Houston's favorite color. Back in the day, whenever houses were built, they were very colorful. That was a form of decorating.
Right.
The colors that we put into the parlor had actually been authenticated, that was colors back in the day that you would find in homes like this, because it was their sense of decorating.
Right.
So, Houston's favorite color, the only one with red transoms, very easily identifiable.
So he was right before the Victorian age.
Yes, sir.
That's why there's no wallpaper here.
Right. So here's our mystery room. The chandeliers are replicas of what you would have found in the Houston home.
Okay, yeah, they don't look as original as...
No,
yeah.
they're not. Right.
Oh.
So when Houston bought the house, he bought it as a 4-square, meaning 2 rooms downstairs, identical to 2 rooms upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
The staircase in the front of the house right here is also original to the home. So of course, with 10 children and 2 wives, he'd one little elbow room. So of course, he started adding on.
Was he a Mormon?
I don't believe that he was. No.
Sorry.
One wife left to go be with God, and the other one came on board. This
Okay.
is now our children's room.
Okay. And you have old books.
We start with the Bobbsey twins and maybe even further back than that. Yes,
I
sir.
kind of remember, I think, that sink's been here, right?
The farmhouse sink, that used to be the big kitchen that we provided
Okay.
to an ADA bathroom and kind of a processing table for the library.
Right,
Yes.
okay.
While we do have old books, I would like to point out that we do in fact have new books.
Yeah, you told
As
me
well.
that
Yes,
you've got
yeah.
Harry Potter and other ones, yeah.
Yep.
Very good. This
So-
is, yeah.
And then moving off to your left, of course, is the children's room.
So this is now...
I'm sorry, is the fiction room.
Fiction
Moving
room.
From the children's room
Okay.
into the fiction room.
So let's see, we just had 2019 was our bicentennial year.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess being a librarian, you know, we had a vice president from Alabama.
I did know that. Yes, I did.
William
yes,
Rufus
sir.
DeVane King.
Yes, sir.
We did not learn about him in school.
No, sir.
Do you know why? Back on you.
So anyways, moving out of the fiction room, you're then moving into a little cubby that we have for young adults.
Oh, wow.
So we are trying to bolster that reading.
Oh, the Jungle Book. Look at this. Yeah.
Yeah, we have some good ones.
Wow. I could get lost in here and I don't want... Oh, look at that. The magician that jumped out at me. So this is the children's room.
No, it's young adults.
Young adults, I'm sorry.
Yes,
It's right
yes,
there.
sir.
If
Yep.
I
And
mean-
in here we have Western, and we have light romance and Christian romance.
Okay.
In this room. And then you're going to come full circle. If you keep going straight and then turn to your left,
Okay.
you will be right back
Right
into
back there.
the parlor. Yes.
Now, you didn't change the rooms. You just changed what they were used for.
Well, we changed to some rooms. For instance, this used to be a restroom. So when we added the big ADA bathroom back there, we made this a kitchenette so we could host luncheons or small gatherings here.
I got you.
And be able to provide refrigeration and things like that.
So, I hadn't gone upstairs yet. So, you do rent out the facility for different small events and
We do.
whatnot?
Yeah.
You ever had a wedding here?
No.
I do a lot of weddings.
Oh, okay.
I officiate a lot of weddings.
Okay.
It became a retirement thing. And
No,
I
I
get-
can't follow you upstairs, and I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm the only one working here, so I can't follow you.
You're fine.
Lights will go on automatically, so you don't need to worry about switches. They'll just turn on
Okay.
and off as you go. But please enjoy the top of the house.
Thank you. What's your name?
Absolutely. I'm Deb Kolarczyk. I'm the librarian.
It's okay to call you Deb?
Of course.
Deb, I'm Kelsey. Thank you
It's nice
so
to meet you,
much.
Kelsey.
I
Of
appreciate
course,
it.
Of course, and take your time. And if you can remember any questions from upstairs to downstairs, I will try to answer them.
And I'm going to have you look up my old library card.
Oh, yes, sir. Tell me the last name.
Graham, Graham.
Okay.
William would be,
William.
William Kelsey is the full name. So I don't remember this, but they got a lot of artifacts. But I was really into the books. And we're in Alabama, everything's got to be tied to the Civil War, right? Yep. Now they do have wallpaper up here. They sure do. Yep. I'm sure that's not original. Oh, arrowheads, and we were still finding a lot of arrowheads. I don't know if you find any now or not, but we used to find a lot. Oh, look at the old pictures. Here we go. There's the courthouse. Wow. Back in the day. Absolutely. Grove Tavern. That is the Hayes Mill School of 1910. Wow. Look at this. This is totally amazing. I think that about covers it. No. Opened in 1958. I was 4 years old. I remember that. It was the police station, I think. We called it Municipal Building. And that, yep, that's the building I took you by. That is the courthouse. And now, but it was the post office. It still says courthouse there, I think. Market Street. Wow, going back to what is dirt and wagons. And there we go, full circle, folks. Full circle. So anybody that knows me knows I've talked about my Houston Memorial Library card, and there it is. Guess what? I now have another Houston Memorial Library card. Did not check out any books, but yeah, there you go. Athens Cemetery, and this is where my mother's side of the family is interred, as they say. And I'm trying to remember as I walk along here. I'll walk around a little bit, but I may have found it already. Nope. Gosh, that was very similar. But this is it. I need to clean these. I may come out and do that. Fry. There is Monsignor Rebus Fry. She was born in 1888. Died in 1975. Awaiting a resurrection. My grandfather, Daniel, Andrew Fry. He was born also in 88. He died 3 years before my birth, 1951. And then there are two, boy, you can't read that. Two sons, both died in young, born 1919 and 1920 he died. And then Robert, born 1917, died in 1918. I remember, of course, all these three was before my birth, clearly, but I remember, and I carried my grandmother to that spot right there where she's buried. 1975, I remember that clearly. (1861) to 1924. This would have been my great grandparents, Magdalene (1921) and Ellsworth J. 1924. They died within a short time of each other. Magdalena M. Also born December 6th, and I was born December 1st, almost a century later. I need to clean these stones. I might do that in the morning for sure. So I'm going to take a walk while I'm here to the older part of the cemetery. And they're still, well, in fact, the guys are out here now. It's well maintained. Clearly we get some, wow, go through these gates. Yeah, I kind of want to get to some shaded areas anyway, right? Sun comes down. Hine, Kate Anderson. Can't read these. Cox Wallace. Okay. Yeah, my father's relatives, they're not buried anywhere around here. They're out toward Florence. There's my dad, and his roots, as far as Alabama's concerned, stems from the Killen, Alabama area, which is actually closer to Florence than Athens. So they call this the Confederate Circle. Athens City Cemetery contains graves of over 50 soldiers killed in or around Athens during the war between the states. 8 unknowns. Around 1898, ladies of the local UDC were working in the cemetery when bones believed to be soldiers were found. The ladies felt these soldiers deserved proper burial, so in 1991, they placed markers with initials of the soldiers on each grave. In 94, the chapter researched and ordered new markers with full name and military service records. There you go, in honor of those soldiers who made the supreme sacrifices, I would say, during trying times. is really an ugly event in our history, with a good million of our own citizens, because of they tried to break up the Union, secede. 1864, 64, right in the height of it. And there they are. All right, let's go back. I've got one more grave in particular I want to find here, and I'm going to look it up. It's in a newer section, but my grandmother, sister-in-law, which had been my granddad's sister, Aunt Nova. She's buried here. She died the same year that my grandmother died. She had leukemia, and I and my father sat at her deathbed, and she suffered miserably bone marrow cancer. It was ugly. And her dying words, my dad and I used to quote those words over and over, it all boils down to money. It all boils down to money. That was her dying words. And that hasn't changed a bit, has it? That was 1975, 25, 35, 45, roughly years ago. It all boils down to money. As she lay sick and dying in the hospital, her kids, not giving her much time, were already arguing and fighting over what she had, what property she had, and so forth. So that's the root of all evil. Dement Road. That's where you turn here. This is Dement Cemetery out here. It's still in Limestone County, and I'm going to find Grandma Graham's resting place, as they say. But I stopped here. I don't know if it's going to be in this vicinity, but we're going to walk it over. But here's the Drapers, and I don't know what exactly the relationship. I may look that up, but on my dad's side of the family, Drapers was a name, and I remember some of those folks. So let's just take a walk through here. These are pretty recent graves, but she was interred here in 1975, the same year again as my other grandmother, my maternal grandmother, and my great aunt. So here's Mac Draper. A lot of Drapers. This was my dad's roots out in here. But my dad is down in Pensacola, Florida. And I'm just going to have to walk around because I don't have a clue where she would be. But we're going to find her. We are going to find her. I might just have to kind of zigzag through here. But I started this out with Vanity of Vanities. And this, my friends, is exactly why that was written those thousands of years ago. Because this reminds you of the vanity of it all right here. I mean, really, this is it. They call death the great equalizer, because no one at this point on this ground is any greater or better than anyone else. And gosh, well, I need to exercise, right, folks? It's not going to hurt me at all. Boyd's, I remember Boyd's, and Hobbs. Here's this, look at this. 18 years old, Jessica Dawn. Kilgore, Boyd's. And I know I don't have to look at those others, but her stone is an upright stone. So, Bridges, another Boyd. Wow. Look at that. Marty Wayne. Eunice. I had a cousin named Eunice. That's not her, by the way. That's 1947. Same year my sister was born. Look at this. Jessica Lynn Fowler. 12. Gosh. Is that 15 years old? Short life. You touched us with love, laughter, and memories. All right. (2021) Julian Owens. I'm walking along, scouring the markers, the gravestones. Not knowing what part. It's been a while. I have been here, but it's been a while. I don't remember what part. Smith, Ezel, Easter. It's too bad they don't bury them in alphabetical order. There are cemeteries that actually have a board set up to help you find graves. Rogers was another name. Not close family, but still connected in there somewhere. I'm going to walk over here. We're just going to kind of zigzag through here. Okay, so in looking, and I haven't found Grandma Graham's grave yet, but I'm going to walk up through here. But I'm going to go back here for a moment because I did find someone else. I believe another relative that I was a little bit more familiar with than a lot of them out here. We weren't close to a lot of them, but we were close to some. And I got to look at the dates to figure this out. Keeping the spirits away with their wind chimes. Okay. So Alma Graham Allen, I remember Alma Allen, and she would have died a year before my grandmother did. But yes, I remember Alma Allen. Paul Ezra Graham died before I was born. I'm not sure how else it fits together, but these are the Grahams that I'm related to here for sure. Sarah Ann Graham, 47, 3 years before Paul. And then we've got little Lynn Dean Graham, 1933, 10 years old. Looks like 23 to 33. And then Blair S. Graham. how much of light, how much of joy is buried with our darling boy. Oh gosh, 21 years of age. But these are the Grahams. I don't see my grandmother is not buried close to them. It don't look like. But all these are in a row, and they're all relatives. Of course, a lot of them died years before I was born. I knew Alma Allen. So this would have been the dements that this graveyard was named for 72 years. A beloved and respected citizen of Alabama, Dement, Reverend J.B. Dement, 1806, lived through the Civil War. His ear was ever open to the cry of the poor and the hungry and naked. He sent not empty, said always away, sent not empty away. And then his Jody, son of, and then wife of JC, right there. So let me continue my search. These are all more recent. I don't think she was buried on this side, but 1-year-old Natalie Den Holt and Jackson Reese Holt. Gosh, these people die young. That was a major thing. Look at that. She was born in 2010, October, and did not live 3 months. Look at that bear. And then we've got Jackson. He never knew how close to heaven we were there these 15 wonderful years. Wow. Again, a lot of young people lost their lives. And we, guys, you living in your 30s and 40s and whatnot, not appreciating the life you've had, moaning, complaining. But look at Logan, 12, just turned 12, loving son, brother, and child of God, our love, our life, and our best friend. Whatever took him away. Logan Sandberg Bauer, young. Yeah, I remember the Balls. I remember the name Ball too. I cannot connect in my head how some of these, I know everybody out here was on my dad's side of the family. That much I'm sure of. But how they were connected to his side of the family, I'm not absolutely certain. Here's another one. Gorgeous the way they do these, and to put their picture there I think is really something. But Paul. Haley Marie Davis, beloved child of God, 95, 24 years of age. What, she already had a baby? I don't know. Young. A lot of young people. I appreciate what you got, folks. If you feel pain, embrace it. Because let me tell you what, nobody out here is feeling that pain. They're not feeling anything. This is a well decorated, and it is born and died. So that was Jasmine, either stillborn or died right after birth, one of the two. I think these are all going to be too new. I think she's going to be over on the other side somewhere, but just going to kind of walk through here anyway. Excuse my breathing. I've Had some serious sinus issues, and I'm on my second day of steroids. Dagan's mother, Troy's sister, 62, whew, 38, still young, so, gosh, 28 years old. And there's somebody there that 1989 is 1 year old. A lot of this. Appreciate your life, folks. Appreciate what you've got, folks. That's why I started this video out the way I did. It's all vanity, all the stuff you're trying to collect, and I don't care how they do your markers on your grave. It's not something that you'll ever appreciate. There's another draper. A lot of drapers out here. A lot of drapers. Yeah, I appreciate it. Really, folks, really. This is it. This is it. This is the reality. There's one thing we all have in common, no matter where you're born on this planet, no matter what your skin color, no matter what kind of house you live in, or what kind of car you drive, or any of the above. When you get to this point, which we all are going to get to, then guess what? At that point, it doesn't matter, does it? Look at this. Let's look at life for a second. Take a break from that and look at these horses. There you go. He's going to come over to me. Look at that. Got his attention. I don't know if he's going to come over here or not. But how you doing, boy? How you doing? Doing all right? I stopped you. You're not going to say hi? You're not going to say hi? Okay. We'll see you later. You continue on. All right, let's go to the next section. This is that's Jeanette Brooks. 45 years old. 44. Right there. Jeanette, you're in your 40s and you're in your 50s. You get to experience more life than Jeanette Brooks did. And you're going to moan and bitch and complain about your circumstances. You've got life, people. You've got life. You can make decisions. You can change your course in life. That's it. You can change your course. You can get up tomorrow morning and say, I'm doing it different. I'm going somewhere else. You can do what you want to do. You can. Charles just died in March. And I'm going to kind of meander through here and see if I find Grandma Graham's grave. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about life and death as I walk through here. This is Lauderdale County, and there is Lauderdale's right there. Arnold, oh my goodness, Piggy, beloved father, born 36, died in 01, Lauderdale. Arnold Piggy. Whatever you got going on in life today, whatever your circumstances in life today, you got it going on compared to anybody out here. 10-year-old Gary W., son of Doyle G. Smith, 10 years old. Yep. He'd like to feel your pain, wouldn't he? Yep, he would like to feel anything. To feel anything. James John White, 8, 7, 15 years old. Unbelievable. Barbara Denise Duncan, probably a sister. No, they're not the same. I wish she could have been married. She'd have been 21, another 25-year-old girl right there. And you've lived, what, twice as long? How much longer? Okay, folks,
What are you complaining
finally.
about?
And I must have walked by this. But you'll notice Vera leg, which I knew Vera. Died in '66. I was real young, but I was 12, thereabouts, 11 and a half. These, 1919 and 1936, of course, I did not know those, William Legg or C.R. Legg, but I was aware of Vera Legg, Vera Allen, mother of Annie Bay Allen, and there lies grandmother Graham. She hoped for a resurrection. Acts of the Apostles, Revelation 21:4, from the Holy Scriptures. My dad had that inscribed on her tomb, and that needs to be cleaned up as well. 1896 to 1975, 25. I was 75 and 4. She was almost 80, about 80 years old or 81 years old. I'm not doing the math good in my head right now, but that's her. And there was a vase of some sort that was set here, but that's where we carried and laid her to rest. And this is all her family over here. All these folks, and then the other ones along the tree line there. Earl, Beatrice Legg. And here's another one of those recent Leggs. Born in November, died August of 1921, get that straight. Roughly right under a year old. Horace Edward Beatrice. My dad's dad, who my grandmother was married to at that point, lived up in Rockford, Illinois, and that's where he's interred, up there somewhere. They had long been divorced, and he remarried. Frances Talitha Legg Graham never remarried. She was a victim. She had some mental issues going on, emotional issues. She was in Bryce's hospital for a short time. My dad would go to visit, and she was the treatment they used to give people that had mental disease was horrible. My dad took her out, and she died with a hole in her skull. That was one way that some tried to perform that frontal lobotomy. Others went in through an eye socket, but they had actually drilled a hole in the left part of her skull above her eye, and she wore that hole. It was skin was sunken in there, and that hole went in the ground with her right there for the rest of her life. My dad took care and kept her house, took care of her till the day she died, and also took care of my mother's mother, whose grave was at the other cemetery, the Athens Cemetery. That was the way we did it. None were in a nursing home, a rest home, or anything like that. My dad maintained their houses and looked out after them. There was seldom that we ever took a vacation or went anywhere that one of the grandmothers wasn't taking that journey with us, no matter if it was to Pennsylvania or whatever. That's the way we rolled. Very much a different world back then. People they don't know life. I say it over and over again. I preach my sermon. This is the equalizer, folks. I remember her well. I remember Grandma Graham real well. I was a young adult when she passed away, when my mother's mother, grandmother Fry, passed away, Grandma Graham passed away, and then Aunt Nova passed away, all in the same year. Very, very strong memories of all three of them. Now, at 66, all my family are just in this position here. There's no grave markers for my mother or my sister, Joanna or Bernice, my mother. They were cremated. Joanna's cremains, let me get it right, we sprinkled, my mother and I sprinkled over Senia Fry's, my maternal grandmother's grave, after she was cremated. But this is it. No matter what you do in your life, no matter Alabama football fan or good church-going Christian, it doesn't matter. This is the end of the road, folks, right here. This is the reality check. And if we've got a society on this capitalist thing, and we just think it's so important. And I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you're a Christian. I don't care if you're Hindu. I don't care if you're atheist, agnostic. First and foremost, you are a human being. A human being. And this is the result of your life. Now, if you want to believe in an afterlife, that's fine. I'm not going to discourage that. I'm not going to make any comments about that. But in the life that we know we have, you put so much importance on, as we say in the religious realm, in this temporal state that we call life. It's temporal. It's temporary. You collect, you build, and we just keep on and keep on, you know. And as I started out in this video at the Athens Cemetery, it's all vanity. I knew a lot of these people out here. My father's Everett Ezra Graham, his side of the family. And there we go, folks, reality. And you saw also, not only in this one, in previous videos I've done at cemeteries, these young folks end up in this situation right here, which we're all going to end up here one day, certainly, but they never experienced the life you've got. They died very, very young, very young. Just like here we've got Andrew, born in 1859, and died in 1956, almost 100 years. Just 3 years short of 100 years. And then you go just a few graves over, and there's somebody that didn't make it through a full day. Here's William Davis, and he's got his, he was clearly an Alabama football fan. You see Bill's got his, you know, Bryant hat there gone to see the bear. He was born the same month, 22 days after I was born, and he beat me to this spot right here by so far 22 years. But no matter what he did in his life, and no matter what football team he wrapped his ever-loving fanatic arms around, he's no better or no worse than anybody out in this ground here. Embrace what you've got, people. Embrace your moments. 5 beautiful horses here. I've got their attention, except for a couple of them that kept grazing. These horses don't spend their day trying to accumulate anything like that. Look at that. Yeah, he wants to be petted. Right there, look at that. And are we jealous over here? Huh? Oh, you're grazing. You didn't really want to be petted, did you? Did you want to be petted? Did you want to be petted? Just came to see who I was. This guy right here. Look at that coat. Look at that coat, huh? No, I'm not going to bother him. They're hungry. Is the grass greener on the other side? Really? All looks the same to me, except you're digging around some dirt there. You know that, right? Boy, you're fighting to get that. Look over there. Why are you coming over? Why is this? The grass greener on the other side, huh? The grass greener on the other side? You guys have a pleasant day. Enjoy your moments. We can learn something from these horses, right? They're not consumed about all this other stuff. They're not building churches and they're not doing all that, right? Look at that. These horses just want to be petted. That's it. Now, I'm not going to let you get your nose too close to me because I don't know if you want to do something silly to me or not, but there you go. Isn't that a gorgeous horse, huh? Yeah? Yeah? Will you count? 2. Can you count? 2. Hmm? Yeah? 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 Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Look at this. See? All they're worried about is grazing. That's it. There you go. See? Come on. Now this one over here still thinks the grass is greener. Look at that. On the other side. Why are you doing that, huh? Look at the grass over there. Look. Look. Look over there on your side of the fence. Yeah, look. See all that? I like this. Is that string laying out there? Maybe not. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, they got, I don't like that with these animals out here. There's a lot of string out there. Okay, guys. Enjoy your afternoon. Okay, there you go. He's still trying to get the grass on the other side, isn't he? Beautiful day, folks. Not extremely hot in the 80s. I've enjoyed this. Anybody want a Cadillac Eldorado? We be jeeping. So is that supposed to be a toothpick? Or a twig or something in his hand? He's smiling big there. What's going on, big guy? He looks like a country bumpkin. He's got his tennis shoes on, but no socks. That's it. He's got his coveralls on. He's ready to, I don't know what he's going to do. I have no clue, but he's standing tall and he's smiling big. Looking out over Highway 72. Have a good day. Flower Hill Farm, 1856. I don't recall ever having stopped here before, and I don't know how. I guess I can walk up there because I want to get that sign. So, here's the firehouse, also known as the Flower Hill Farm. This is the Antebellum Trail, Athensville, Mooresville, 17. Wow. And they're doing some work in here prior. So I don't know if this is somebody's residence or not, but I want you to look at this. Wow. And that, my friends, I don't know how you expect to get down that sidewalk traffic, given the cover of those hedges, huh? Can't hardly see the house. I'm going to walk along here, get a little bit different view. Beautiful grounds, beautiful bushes. The house is in they're doing some work on it. I think they're probably getting ready to paint it. And then there's another see right over there, but I'm not going to even attempt going over there. But we're going to check out this sign. Let's see what it says. Isn't that gorgeous? That'd be a beautiful front yard to have. There's a lot of trees and bushes. Look at this. Nice shady. Very much so. Wow. Look at the magnolias. Alright. Let's see what the sign says. Alright, across the highway is a large spring known since early times as English's Spring. It produced enough water for a town, and the little settlement which formed around it was a contender for the site of the county seat. It was not chosen, however, and the settlement ceased to exist. This area for several miles around was known as Quid Inunc, Latin for what next. Beat and post office until about 1910, when it was changed to Harris Station, a community which had formed along the railroad tracks to the southwest. Time and progress have brought about the demise of that community, named for the prominent Harris family. The Harris Cemetery is among the trees across the highway. Interesting. Continued on the other side, it says. Built in 1858 by Schuyler Harrison on land once owned by Henry Augustine Washington, a distant relative of the first president. Through purchases, marriages, and inheritance between the Washington, Harris, and Pryor families, all from Virginia, a large plantation of over 3,000 acres was established. Long after the demise of slavery, approximately 60 tenant families lived on the land. Schuyler Harris gave this house to his daughter, Ida Marie, and her husband, William Richard Pryor, son of Senator Luke Pryor II and Isabella Virginia Harris Pryor. It is through this descent, that's got to be descent, that this historic house and farm known as Tower Hill is owned and held in trust for future generations by Luke Pryor IV and wife Betty Lamb Pryor. It is managed through a family corporation and is not open to the public. So there you go. I'm not going to go in. This is as far as I'm going because it's not, according to that, open to the public. But I'll walk along that fence line for just a second to get a good enough view that, and I want to also show the entrance, this stone entrance to this drive here, and these beautiful, huge magnolia trees. Look at that. That is, talking about some shade. But you know what? That was very important. When we didn't have air conditioning, this shade made, wow. You can see this tree is like something, and look at the roots there. Some of these trees got to be older than the house itself. This is like an amazing piece of property going back to, wow. I can say this all those years ago. Okay. This was another entrance to the side there. There you go, folks. This, my friends, is the campus right at the edge of Limestone County, right before we get into Morgan County. Calhoun Community College. Got a nice one. Technology. It's like a trade school, more or less. So when I was starting in middle school, I was doing double duty. Besides working, I also had made arrangements to drop some classes and get my credits in high school by coming out here every afternoon. Because I wanted to learn electronics. I learned resistors, capacitors, soldering, all that stuff right on this campus. And it's a big campus, really. It's not a small little school at all. It's a nice sized school with a beautiful campus. Calhoun Community College. So this was my beginning education in electronics, and I was not interested in making a career out of it. I really and truly just love it. You know, that's the way I've done my life. It's like I do things not because I want to say, ooh, I want to do this for a career. Just something I want to know. I never wanted to be a commercial pilot. I never wanted to have a job of being a pilot, but I wanted to learn how to fly a plane. Now, I don't know if I'll ever get up to Rockford and make that video or not, but here's the campus, and this is what, during my grade school years, before I graduated in 1973, I came out here late every afternoon, directly from grade school, and learned all about transistors, capacitors, resistors. I used to know those. I could, of course, you know, it's a different world today, but yeah, I could hook you up back then. Tubes, and still, that late in the game, resistors, transistors were just becoming a thing, and so I dealt with tubes as well. TVs still use those back then. But all that changed. And this is where a lot of what I learned is not even of any value anymore, except for working on antique stuff. It doesn't change. But I never wanted to make a career out of it. It was just something I wanted to do. It has served me throughout the years. There's been things I've been able to take care of my family. Just because I got that education. Calhoun Community College. Nice. Okay, I'm going to be crossing over the Tennessee River, going into Decatur, and there's a little park marina. This used to be a drawbridge. It's called the it was called the Helen Keller Bridge. I guess they still call it that. We'll find out in a minute. I don't think this is the drawbridge anymore. I think they got rid of that. But used to, if you came to Decatur back when I was young, you if was something coming through like a barge, they would draw. The bridge would draw, and you would have to sit and wait. Over to the right there, if you can see it, is a marina. When I was shopping for a houseboat years ago, I almost got a houseboat at this marina, but I ended up in northern Chattanooga instead. Probably would have been better off. God dang. Probably would have been better off if I had indeed got this one, because at the other one, my boat sank thanks to a storm there. Look at those a lot of magnolia trees. I'm going to go over this bridge. We're going to go over to Decatur, and I'm sure that this is no longer a drawbridge. It would have been interesting if it was. And if you go over, I'm going to slide this camera over here. If you go over there, that railroad right there, that swings around. Or no, it raises up as well to let boats come through there. Guys out there fishing. But anyway, yeah, the drawbridge part of this is long gone. They had taken care of that. Okay. Okay, if I can override the traffic here. Legendary since 1927. So, the other week, when I was up here doing some other filming in this part of my youth, in Decatur, Hartsville, I was hungry, and this says CE Pen Hamburgers. It doesn't say anything else but hamburgers. I thought, man, a local little hamburger joint. Legendary since 1927. So I go in and I said, I'll have a double with some fries and a diet soda. Oh my God, what was I putting in my mouth? I'd never had anything like this before in my freaking life. Honestly, I swear. It was horrible. What can I say? Horrible. Well, come to find out, you know, I was going to do a review and say this is the worst. I don't know what I just ate. It's called a slug burger. Honestly, that's what they call it, a slug burger. Ends up, here's the deal, ends up Depression era when people had to make their food stretch. They would take just a tiny bit of hamburger meat and then mix a bunch of bread in it and deep fry it. It was called a slug burger. That's why this has been since 1927. A slug burger. Depression era food that people couldn't afford is horrible. I do not recommend it, but some people love it. I never heard of it. Slug burger. So I travel around, I note that a lot of these Mexican restaurants have different figures like this here, but this one has even something more spectacular that I had to get a film of. And you see that right there? Well, I mean, as neat as that is, that's not what I'm talking about. I want you to look at this. I wouldn't mind having this. This next one, I'm going to show you. Get ready, because you're going to see. This is, look at this. Are you ready? It's right over here. I'm going to get as close to it as I can without getting out of the vehicle. Look at this. Can you, look at this. Isn't that awesome? Wow. But, can you see the horse? Can you see the horse? There you go. They got it tied down too. Unbelievable. Hurricane Creek Park. I don't know. I will get up to a sign there on the way out of here. There is a, I don't know what this is. William Buddy Rogers. Founded in 1961. So let's check it out. Looks like a house, but this is a park, so let's go for a walk. Okay. I think I can water down here. I'm gonna take a trail ride. There's nobody here. This is just open. I hope these boards don't fall through. Well, that trail goes down there, but I'm gonna stick to this one. It's dry. Okay. This is going downhill. Wow. I don't know if there was, I don't know if this is a waterfall at one point. I would say if you've got, this is kind of rickety, and that's quite a fall. I don't know how I'm going to fall. I'm going to go on this trail, but it's like, you got to be careful. You trip on these roots and really go tumbling down. Okay. There's a squirrel down there. I'm going to take, God, somebody spit there. I don't know why people have to spit like that. All right, that's as far as I'm going to go. It goes way down in there. And I'm just not apt to want to do that right now. Because it's not a, it is strictly just a path. And it would be easy to stumble. And yeah. So I'm not going to go all the way down there right now. And I do want to get home today. I have 2 weddings this weekend. So for another day, this would be a good hike. But this is really a rocky and root. You have to be, I mean really, there's so many ways to stumble, stub your toe, trip, and fall. It's like that right there. So